This is Holy Trinity, Anglican Church, Vancouver. This 6-week sermon series, of which we're currently on week 3, is filling in gaps, things covered by Matthew and Luke, but not by Mark. Today's passage is unique to Matthew. This doesn't make it any less important or reliable. It just gives us something to be particularly grateful to Matthew for. Matthew chapter 27, verse 3. When Judas, who had betrayed him, saw that Jesus was condemned, he was seized with remorse and returned the 30 silver coins to the chief priests and elders. "I have sinned," he said, "for I have betrayed innocent blood." "What is that to us?" they replied. "That's your responsibility." I find that remarkable, I really do. What is that to us? What a thing to say. Here are the Jewish chief priests and elders. What are they there for, if not to give a moral lead and take responsibility? Talk about washing one's hands. I call it institutional failure. But Judas is no better. He may have rightly been seized with remorse, but his response is too little and too late. It's not enough just to say, "I have sinned, for I have betrayed innocent blood." What is he going to do to go about putting matters right? He should be shouting it from the rooftops. Why didn't he seek out Jesus to beg his forgiveness, which surely would have been given? Throwing money down isn't an answer. His committing suicide hardly helps. Both of these acts just speak again of seeking to dodge responsibility. A friend said of suicide that it caused trouble for those left behind. I thought at the time this was a weak argument, as I did when Peter Hitchens advocated Christianity because it makes society more civil. I've since changed my mind. Perhaps if those who have died could see the grief and the love subsequently expressed, they would have had a different appreciation of the worth of their life. And this even applies to Judas. If only he had acted aright. The chief priests continue to dig a deeper hole for themselves. Verse 6. The chief priests picked up the coins and said, "It is against the law to put this into the treasury, since it is blood money." Too right. It's against the law, their law. What does Deuteronomy 27:25 have to say? "Cursed is the man who accepts a bribe to kill an innocent person." And Proverbs 6, verses 16 and 17. "The Lord hates hands that shed innocent blood." That, of course, is true for the shedding of any innocent blood. But whose blood in particular are we talking about? That of the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, the Messiah, Jesus, who is the Christ. Not being one to dodge an issue, let us now turn our attention to the words at the end of our passage, verse 10. "They used them to buy the potter's field, as the Lord commanded me." From the 1994 film Priest. Charlie, one of the eponymous priest's parishioners, says, "It's doing me head in, this predestination business. Honest to God it is. And Judas and all that. Poor old Judas. He's got to betray him, then hang himself. but God made him. Do you know what I mean? Or from the 2010 HBO miniseries The Pacific, in which Lecky and Sledgehammer are having a conversation.
Well, what we do is up to us. He gives the choice.
Free will, right. Except he's God, of course. So he knows what we're going to do before we do it.
Predestination.
So the whole game is fixed by the will of Gramps on his throne while we're down here for what? His entertainment? That makes us chumps and God's a sadist. And either way, I got no use for him.
I am amazed at what a big issue predestination can be. Those were two cultural references to it from mainstream media. Although Calvinist Presbyterians have a bit of a reputation regarding predestination, in fact, other types of Christians believe in it as well. Anglicans, see Article 17, and Roman Catholics, for example, believe in predestination or are supposed to. The fact is, without it, you've got a pretty puny view of God. I've never had a problem with predestination, but I'm the type of guy who just dutifully accepts things, such as the Athanasian Creed, for example. The problem some people see is that caused by the God's sovereignty versus human responsibility interface, which boils down to how to reconcile the human and the divine. Jesus himself bridged that gap, of course, in his very self, being both human and divine. But that raises questions about the nature of Jesus, resolved in as much as they can be by what is known as the Chalcedonian formula, something which, again, I just accept. People talk about having questions they wish to ask God. They mention this in a way that gives the impression that they have a right to an answer and that they will be able to understand the answer. I think that if people are so presumptuous as to ask questions of God face to face, they are likely to be told that even then the answer is beyond their ken. But this I do know. Were I to murder someone, it would be no defence to justify having done so by saying that God predestined the act. The law would still hold me responsible, and it will be right in so doing. God's sovereignty never cancels out human responsibility. God always holds us accountable for every decision we take, good or bad. Meanwhile, as we muse upon such matters, the real action lies elsewhere. Early in the morning, all the chief priests and the elders of the people came to the decision to put Jesus to death. They bound him, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate, the governor. I have sinned, for I have betrayed innocent blood, says Judas. One of the criminals who hung there hurled insults at him. Aren't you the Christ? Save yourself and us. But the other criminal rebuked him. Don't you fear God, he said, since you are under the same sentence. We are punished justly, for we are getting what our deeds deserve. But this man has done nothing wrong. Then he said, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus answered him, I tell you the truth. Today you will be with me in paradise. 2 guilty men and 1 innocent. 2 different approaches to Jesus with different results. A penitent thief and an impenitent thief. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom?" Jesus answered, "I tell you the truth. Today you will be with me in paradise." O Israel, hope in the Lord, for with the Lord there is mercy and loving kindness, and with him is plenteous redemption. Amen.